Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Nobody. This movie tells the story of a docile family man who slowly reveals his true character after his house gets burgled by two petty thieves, which coincidentally leads him into a bloody war with a Russian crime boss. Can the man be able to solve all his problems with the crime boss? Let's find out in Nobody. Nobody tells the story of a man named Hutch Mansell, who seems ordinary. Hutch has two children with his wife, Becca, and a mediocre office job at a metal fabrication company owned by his father-in-law, Eddie. His marriage is strained, and his working life seems tedious. One night, Hutch and his family's residence is invaded by two thieves, a man and a woman with guns. Hutch caught them, but for unknown reasons, Hutch instead let the thieves take some of the cash there. Not long after, Hutch's eldest son, Blake, managed to ambush one of the thieves. But then, Hutch asked his son to release the man and let the thieves go. Before leaving, one of the thieves punched Blake in the face, much to the dismay of his father. The incident causes everyone to think Hutch is a failure. Becca and Blake also seem very disappointed in Hutch, who they consider weak and timid, and unable to protect his threatened family. Hutch's inability to deal with the burglary incident that occurred at his home last night spread quickly in the neighborhood where he lived and where he worked. The people around him quipped, even openly mocked Hutch for being too weak and timid, so he preferred to let the thieves get away after what they had done to Blake. Charlie, his brother-in-law, also looked very disappointed in Hutch. The man then gave Hutch a gun so he could use it to protect his family. Hutch then meets with Eddie, his father-in-law, who discusses Hutch's plans to buy his company, for which Eddie is not quite satisfied with the price offered by Hutch, and asks him for a more reasonable price. In the midst of boredom and pressure from the people around him, Hutch then contacted his adoptive brother, Harry, via a radio hidden in his office. Hutch told Harry about last night's theft, and explained that he had deliberately refrained from fighting the thieves because they were desperate people, and stole out of necessity. At a glance, Hutch could immediately tell that the thieves who visited his home last night were a couple who might be desperate because of financial problems or urgent needs. This was proven when the thieves took a small amount of change and used an unloaded gun. That was the reason Hutch didn't fight back and let them steal the small change in his house. After work, Hutch took the time to visit his father, David, who lived in a nursing home. When he returned home, Hutch seemed to think for a moment before entering the house, looking out the window at his wife and two children. Becca and Blake, still annoyed at Hutch's cowardice, immediately ignored him as he walked in and greeted them. Sammy, Hutch's daughter, then enlists her father's help in finding her missing kitty cat bracelet, which the thieves may have taken last night. Without saying a word, Hutch hurried off to see his father at the nursing home and borrowed his old gun, then tracked down the thieves with the memory of the tattoo on the wrist of one of the thieves. Hutch then drew it and went to several tattoo parlors. Hutch entered a place where most of the people there looked down on him. But then, one of the men who was there walked up to Hutch and thanked him. Seeing this, the visitors there changed their attitude and seemed to respect Hutch more. After that, Hutch finally found the address where the thieves lived. He then threatened and forced them to hand over his daughter's cat bracelet. But suddenly, Hutch heard the sound of a baby crying and knew that the couple had a sick baby. Hutch immediately walked away guilt-ridden and banged on the wall in annoyance with himself. Hutch then boarded the bus home, where many drunken thugs boarded the bus, trying to annoy some of the passengers. Hutch, looking for an opportunity to release his frustration, then asked the bus driver to get out, and immediately beat the thugs under the pretext of protecting a young woman from sexual harassment. Arriving at the house, Becca, seeing her husband come home battered, then treated his bruises with all her heart and accompanied him until Hutch fell asleep. Hutch realized that he had not communicated with his family since the theft incident, then tried to reconnect with them. The scene then switches and shows a man named Yulian Kuznetsov, a Russian crime lord who is enjoying a party at a nightclub. Yulian is a mafia who runs a money laundering business, where other Russian mafias entrust their dirty money to Yulian so that they are not detected by the authorities. However, some of Yulian's mafia associates seem less sure of the man's credibility, going about his business and bringing it up in person. Unexpectedly, Yulian then took a random nightclub customer and slit the man's throat right in front of his colleagues, where he intended to prove to his colleagues and also everyone that he was a dangerous person, so they should not upset him or will suffer the consequences. After that, Yulian received a call informing him that Teddy, his younger brother, was lying in a coma in the hospital after being badly beaten by a man, who was none other than Hutch. Teddy had apparently been one of the thugs who had visited Hutch's bus on the way home. Julian and his men immediately went to the hospital and interrogated all of Teddy's men to find information about the identity of the man who had beaten his brother and his henchmen. One of the thugs manages to steal Hutch's business card and hand it to Julian. The next morning, Hutch, who appears to be enjoying breakfast with his family, receives a call from Harry, warning him of the beating Hutch had on the bus last night, in which one of the victims of the beating was the brother of a criminal kingpin. Harry then persuades Hutch to meet the barber to get more information about Russia's most dangerous criminal kingpin. Arriving at the place of the barber, Hutch gets information about Yulian Kuznetsov and his actions in the criminal world. Hutch does not appear to regret his actions and will face all risks and consequences for his actions. On the other hand, Julian enlists the help of a female informant to find out about Hutch just based on a business card. Unexpectedly, all information about Hutch shows his brutal actions in the past while on his mission, where it is stated that Hutch never fails and always kills his targets very brutally. After getting the information, the informant immediately told Julian and decided not to get involved because she thought about her own safety. That same night, in retaliation for Hutch beating up his younger brother, Julian sends a crew led by his right-hand man, a man named Pavel, to arrest Hutch at his home. Realizing that there was going to be an attack on his home, Hutch then hid his family in the basement, asking them to stay calm and not to call 911. When Julian's henchmen stormed his home, Hutch brutally slaughtered most of Julian's men, before Pavel electrocuted him from behind, knocking him unconscious and then taking him. However, Hutch regained his senses and managed to free his hands from the handcuffs. Finding a fire extinguisher in the trunk of a car he is locked in, Hutch uses it to blind the driver, causing the car to crash, killing Pavel and his remaining crew. Hutch then returns to his house and takes his family out of the basement, where they see bodies were strewn in the house in a state of complete disarray. Before sending his family to safety, Hutch assured his wife that he would deal with the matter as quickly as possible and asked his wife to stay there with their children. After securing all of his possessions, including a pile of gold bullion that Hutch got in exchange for work he did in the past, Hutch set fire to his house to erase all evidence. Elsewhere, it turns out that Julian not only mobilized his henchmen to attack Hutch and his family at home, but he also sent two of his best henchmen to kill David, Hutch's father, in a nursing home. However, unexpectedly, the old David could easily defeat Julian's henchmen. After that, Hutch went to Eddie and bought his company with the gold bullion. Charlie, sensing Hutch is making fun of his family, tries to attack him, but Hutch manages to incapacitate him. Knowing that Pavel and his henchmen had been massacred by Hutch, Julian immediately ordered all his men to kill Hutch. On the other hand, Hutch also seems to be preparing everything to deal with the attack that will be launched by Julian, especially after he has openly launched an attack to harm his family. Knowing Julian's business, Hutch goes to where Julian keeps all the cash for his business. After killing Julian's men guarding the place, Hutch burns the money Julian was protecting for the mob, along with Julian's art collection. Without the slightest hesitation, Hutch then went to Julian's nightclub and confronted him there alone and threatened him with a claymore mine. Julian then ordered everyone to leave and sit down facing Hutch. With a calm demeanor, Hutch offers a deal to reconcile with Julian, in which Hutch promises that he won't kill Julian as long as he doesn't bother him and his family again. Hutch also said that he had burned all the cash belonging to the mafia entrusted to Julian, and suggested that Julian find a new job that is better and less dangerous. After that, Hutch left from there carrying a claymore mine and waiting in his car. Of course, Julian would never be willing to make peace with the person who had hurt his brother. After Hutch left, Julian then ordered all his men to chase him. Julian and his men chased Hutch to the factory where he worked and had bought from Eddie. Unexpectedly, David and Harry suddenly appear to help Hutch eliminate the gangsters using various weapons and deadly traps that Hutch has prepared in advance. David is a retired FBI agent who was quite tough while still on duty, while Harry is a highly trained ex-soldier. The three managed to overthrow all of Julian's men, leaving only Julian, even though Harry was shot in the shoulder. Out of ammo, Hutch charges him with a claymore mine attached to a pane of bulletproof glass and detonates it, killing Julian. After confirming that David and Harry had escaped, Hutch turned himself in when the police arrived at the scene and arrested him. Hutch is interrogated by a man and a woman who look very shocked, and can't believe when they find out that the corpses are strewn at the scene, and most of them were brutally murdered, where Hutch, as the only person there, admitted that he was the one who killed them all. Not long after, two of Hutch's interrogators received a call at the same time. At that moment, the expressions on their faces changed, and they looked at Hutch in disbelief. After that, Hutch was released without any charges being filed. Before leaving, they asked Hutch, "Who are you?" To which Hutch simply replied, "I'm nobody." Hutch Mansell is a former auditor, known as the last guy any organization wants to see at their door. Hutch is a hitman employed by the intelligence services. After deciding to keep one of his targets alive, Hutch finds the man a year later and is already living happily with his new family. Seeing this, Hutch also wanted the same life deep down. Hutch then decided to retire, even though his decision was against the wishes of his superiors. 3 months later, while buying a new house with Becca, Hutch receives a mysterious call stating that his services are still needed. In a mid-credits scene, Harry and David are shown driving to an undisclosed location in an RV loaded with guns. So, will Hutch Mansell return to his job as a hitman? Will the man reveal his true identity to his family? Well, it is not known whether there will be a sequel or not, but what is clear, this film does feature a lot of very cool action scenes, just like John Wick. The moral message in this film is, never ever interfere with other people's lives. Although initially, it was Hutch who beat up Julian's brother to vent his frustration, and Julian retaliated by attacking Hutch's family. Hutch and Julian both show how important family is in their lives, and will not hesitate to take revenge on anyone who dares to hurt the people they care about the most in this world.